So my name is Gascia Ouzounian. I'm a violinist and a musicologist, and I'm an associate professor of music in Oxford and the music fellow at LMH. I'm mostly interested in the history of 20th and 21st century music, so contemporary music making. And a lot of my research involves talking to people who are doing lots of different kinds of experimental music, things that are pushing the boundaries of what music is, how we think about music, how music intersects with other kinds of contemporary culture. So one of my big projects right now is looking at the history of acoustic space. So the idea of acoustic space really is a broad one. It covers everything from, philosophies, people who are writing, like early modern philosophers who are thinking about things like echoes and acoustic reflections. So everything from that to things like stereo technologies, things where you have multi-channel audio setups and what does it mean to create an immersive acoustic space. So everything from the idea that sound is spatial to articulations of that. So actually one of the chapters that was most interesting for me to research, and something that's not been written about almost at all within in academic scholarship, is the period of the First World War, where suddenly you have an explosion of research into acoustic spatiality, because this is the time when you first have aerial warfare on a large scale, and people want to find out how to track airplanes essentially through listening to them because you couldn't see them. So they're developing all of these new technologies for sensing sound in relation to distance and direction and mapping trajectories of sound so that they can actually identify the position of aircraft. But what happens during that time is that just how we think about measuring sound starts to really change. Whereas experiments in sound had been quite few and far between in the 19th century, you have now hundreds of experiments, and they're really well resourced, and different militaries also have different industrial partners. So people like the Bell Telephone Company become really involved in that project, and then later they build stereo reproduction systems, and it's the same people who are doing the World War I acoustic defense research who then make commercial stereo systems. Oxford actually has, I think, one of the not only most rigorous curriculums in music, but a really broad curriculum. So in your first year, you might study anything from Baroque counterpoint to contemporary forms of song, and everything in between. So you will get one-on-one instruction in those things. So that's something that I think is really valuable. Whereas in a lot of universities, that one-on-one aspect of teaching really only comes in at the graduate and postgraduate PhD levels. Here you're starting from week one, having one-on-one tutorials and small group tutorials. So I think that's really important. You're developing writing skills, so you're going to gain a great sense about music history and how to think critically about music, how to think analytically about music and do music theory and analysis. And also, if you're a composer, if you're a performer, if you're working in a kind of creative capacity in music, you can find outlets for that too. LMH it's a lovely campus, it's a beautiful college, but it also has a really varied and rich tradition of music making here, which was principally supported through Susan Wallenberg, who was teaching here for many years. And so she established a really vibrant, I think, community of musicians. The college really supports music making as well. So we have a new music fund, which has supported initiatives like purchasing a new Steinway, and that's one of the instruments that you can play on if you come here as a music student. So you can participate in different kinds of musical activities, whether it's joining a musical ensemble, you might join a choir or a chamber choir or an orchestra or a big band or a jazz ensemble or a chamber group. So there are lots of ways of getting involved. But we also have a very broad curriculum here in music, and it's something that I want to really support a broad range of interests. So whether you're interested in medieval song, which is something that we teach, or if you're interested in global hip hop, which is another course that we teach, I want you to be able to find a home here.